When I rolled credits in Armored Core 6, my first thought was, man, this was such a good story. I was happy with the ending that I got and was eager to keep playing to unlock the next two endings. Having now played through all endings, the story of each path keeps the same frame, with only a couple of missions diverting the course of the story, which later impact the ending. In the end, one of my biggest highlights of Armored Core 6 was its narrative. The story it told, the themes it conveyed, the emotions it managed to spark, and the factor that links it all together, Rubicon, and crossing it. I'll explain what that means in a bit, but for this video, I wanted to analyze the story and themes of the good and bad endings of Armored Core 6, not the true ending, which we'll leave for another time. So, yeah, that's about it. I'll be analyzing the messages that are brought up in Armored Core 6 and how they link to the story. So with that said, wake the dog up, because we're going to enter Rubicon 3, and it should be noted, there will be major spoilers in this video. Crossing the Rubicon is an idiom used to describe someone that is about to cross the point of no return. It originated from when Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, which was illegal to do that in the Roman time, which in turn was perceived as a declaration of war, where there was no coming back from. This whole theme of crossing the Rubicon is echoed throughout the entire game. Once your handler, Walter, drops you into Rubicon's atmosphere, you've already started a crossing which you cannot go back from. The very first mission, you illegally take the name of another armored core and strike down an attack helicopter for no other reason than to stay alive. It doesn't get more promising after this, because having now entered Rubicon, you are now a soldier in this war, a war that you honestly don't know much about until later on in the game, and that's the part that might be hard to come to terms with. Raven 621 is a war machine for the highest bidder, and although you might think you have emotions and connections to certain characters, you don't, because in the first two chapters, you aren't given any choice for what missions you do, you just do them all. It's only from chapter 3 onwards where your humanity starts to show, but staying on the first chapter, we are introduced to the main characters of the game. Your handler Walter, a man who seems to put his trust in your abilities and wants you to rise up in the ranks. The two main corporations that hire you, Arquebus and Balaam, having the Vespers and the Red Guns as their respective combat units to get the jobs done. You do meet some of the main members of the squad, such as G5 Iguazu and V8 Pater, but the first ally you find yourself with is on Operation Wall Climber V4 Rusty. I love that guy. There's also the Planetary Closure Administration that wants to limit corporate access to Rubicon, and the Rubicon Liberation Front that are, well, trying to liberate Rubicon from all these powers. The game makes it clear with its mission structure that you don't really have a choice in the matters. Your job is to keep your head down and do as instructed. Walter further supports this, asking you in many mission briefings to focus on the job and to simply get it done. This leaves us with the only thought that we have is what exactly is Coral, the prime element that is found on Rubicon, and what makes it so important to all the corporations and why do they want it. We know that it caused the fires of Ibis, the massive burst of energy that caused massive damage to Rubicon itself, but that's about it. That is until the final mission of chapter 1, where we are subject to a surge of coral energy, where a being called Air attaches herself, I'm not sure, but I'll stick with her, and attaches herself to our brainwaves and makes contact with us and starts to explain what coral is to us. It's also important to note that Walter was the one who sent us to this coral surge, unbeknownst to him that it would have everlasting effects on us. Air explains and reveals that she is a Rubiconian, but in the form of coral. Coral is this sentient life form that is filled with natural power and energy, making it a perfect resource for corporations to snag for themselves to further improve whatever business they want to delve deeper into, but I digress. This gives the coral a human factor to it, as we now understand coral, although might not have a human body, does have human emotions and feelings and can think, and now knowing this, we can now go into the next part of the video where the themes and stories start to create internal conflicts between all the parties involved, and subtly as well inside the player 621. With conflict and war being a central theme to Armored Core 6's story, it should be no surprise that a mental conflict also starts to take place. With Air being connected to you, feeding you information about the coral and the shared potential that they have with humans, which can be seen in our dynamic bond with Air, who is always there to give us support when we might be out of comms range or down bad. And because Air is always there with us, we form a bond with her and understand her cause. However, another character that is there for the most part is Walter, who seems to always look out for us, but whether it's because he believes that we can make it as a mercenary or for his own agenda, we don't know. And of course, our fan favorite character, Rusty, also gets into the mix by acting as a character who we can relate to in this situation, which is being used by the corps as a simple pawn. Internal conflicts aren't just present within us, but also in the corporations, more prominently in the Arquebus' squad group, the Vespers. Although the head of the Vespers is V1 Freud, the man who seems to take all the shots is V2 Snail. Snail, as a a character, horrible, I hate him, but that's his role in this story. He has this edge to him and acts high and mighty over the Vespers, and he too seems to be on edge, as his team isn't seeing fully eye to eye with him on some occasions. Another mission that shows his conflict and importance of climbing in the ranks is in the mission where you choose to ambush the Vespers V5 and V8, Hawkins and Pater. Eliminating Hawkins first leads Pater to cry for his fallen comrades before he is grasped away by his own motives of always wanting to be a higher ranked Vesper. The biggest conflict we are put in, happening a bit later in the game, is being set up by Arquebus to fight against the man himself, Rusty. We had both been plotted against one another, with Arquebus hoping to have one of us taken out so that they can eliminate one more dangerous AC from the equation. It does show how evil the corporations are, looking only for their own gain and sacrificing the lives of others to get what they want. Rusty's dialogue during this fight also has strong implications and asks us, what are we fighting for and who does Rubicon need more? Him or us? Having now listed all the key conflicts and Rusty's warning, it's now a good point to talk about the choices in Armored Core 6. Choice is a strong component of AC6's story and is naturally an important factor that helps us choose what ending we wish to proceed with. Problem is that both the good and bad endings of the game are morally grey, but there are other choices early in the game that are equally tough to make. For instance, fighting some of the armored cores. The first AC you fight, the tester pilot, cries out in anguish and in pain. This kid just wanted to be a hero and we robbed him and attacked him blind. They stood no chance and it died having failed in life. This hit me in the feels hearing this pilot scream, and it was equally tough on the next AC battle, V7 Swinburne. Under a mission from the Rubiconians, you are tasked with taking out one of the Vesper members. Although Swinburne also gets counterattacked like the tester pilot, he seems even more oblivious than the tester. Swinburne doesn't show any goals of his life, what he dreams to accomplish, other than suddenly, once his healing packs are out, he pleads for his life. Choosing to not attack him leads Swinburne to offer good money if you let him live. Choosing the money, in turn, means abandoning a mission you've chosen to do, going against moral values that the game has instructed you to stick to, focusing on the job. So, in punishment for showing a sign of humanity, a Rubicon Liberation Front AC comes and attacks you, calling you a traitor. Although this might seem minuscule, thematically speaking, it shows how important choice is in Armored Core 6, and once you find out the true intentions of Walter and his friends that he keeps alluding to, man, that's when it starts to go down. Now, bear with me because I'll try my best to summarize the whole Walter situation in under 60 seconds. Okay, so Handler Walter is working for a group called Overseer. Cinder Carla, another person that gives us missions, also works for the Overseer. The goal of the Overseers are simple. They fear the destruction that Coral can have on mankind and wish to eradicate it completely. Walter tells us to let the last cinders burn, Cinder being a name given to survivors of the fires of Ibis, in turn meaning to burn everything and leave no survivors. Back to missions, Walter secretly has been giving you missions in between the corporate missions to further the goal of the Overseer, like breaking down the security systems of the Xylem, this massive city that can fly, getting you into Institute City, and destroying sea machines powered by Coral designed to protect the planet. Once you beat the final sea machine that protects the vascular tube that hosts an abundance of Coral, you are then captured by the Vespers under V2 Snail, who captures Walter as well, who asks you to fulfill his final wish, and you escape Institute City with Carla, where she then explains that the final objective is to take the flying Xylem and ram it into the vascular tube, in turn creating the second Fires of Ibis. Once all of this is done, you are given a final mission choice of siding with the Overseers or fighting for the Coral, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we finally have to cross the Rubicon. For the penultimate mission of the game, we are given one of these two choices to choose from, and siding with either side poses its own moral dilemma. Will you either uphold your duty as a soldier and go through your handler's final wish and destroy the Coral and eliminate its possible danger, or will you save the Coral and believe in Air's potential that it can share with humanity? Well, for me at least, the choice was obvious, as one of them is practically mass G-word, leading me to choose to side with Air. But doing so has its pros and cons. You get to see the potential through, and you have the whole of Rubicon supporting you, including the MVP himself, Rusty, who has been using the corporation to further his own agenda, liberating Rubicon as well. But however, you have to kill Carla, a friend who has helped and saved you even, and finally, Walter himself. The fight against Walter is probably the saddest moment in the game. It's not something I want to go too much into, as you should experience it yourself, but even in his dying moments, he pleads with you to undo your surgery and live a normal life again because you've earned the credits to leave the mercenary business behind. And once you do end up beating him and stop the Xylem, Walter has one final message.
You, 621. You found a friend.
And it's true. You believed in a friend of your own and saved them, and Walter had his friends, and he perishes knowing that he could not fulfill their legacy, as you decided to reject the offer of fulfilling Walter's legacy, as you have to choose to liberate Rubicon. And the bad ending is sad as well, but not as impactful in my opinion. You have to fight Rusty, which is a huge bumper, and you also have to go against Air in the final boss battle, who also dies still believing in you. And then boom, the Xylem crashes into the coral and starts the Fires of Raven, which leads me to believe that there was someone called Ibis who started the first fires that we hear of in the game. The point is, the game has been building up to this final decision you choose to make. Any previous choices that were made are inconsequential, because this is the true choice. Siding with your handler or your friends. This is the end of the crossing of the Rubicon, because once you go down either path, that's that. There is no turning back. You sortie on your mission, and you better be strong enough to live with the guilt or hurt that might come from it. And with that, welcome to the end of the video. I do hope that I managed to explain the story of Armored Core 6 well enough and describe the key themes well as well. I've never done a story recap on this caliber before, and I wanted to make it different from other story recaps and try to tell the story thematically speaking rather than chronologically. Even so, if you enjoyed the video, a like and a comment with your own thoughts about it would mean a lot, and if you didn't enjoy it that much, a dislike also means a lot in helping me improve the content that I can make. With that said, I don't have anything else to add really. I think I'll be going maybe back to a Sea of Stars playthrough maybe, but who knows. So I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching again. Really does mean a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, and week, and with that, Storm